episode on Two Puerto Ricans and a Black Girl. Today, we're going to continue our conversation on colorism. We're going to focus on the Hispanic, Latino, and African American culture. Before we get started, I am the Dope Widow.
Hey guys, I am the Love Guru. Happy
And
Valentine's Day, actually.
oh, yay. Happy girls, happy Valentine's Day. And I am Mimi, the lifestyle diva. So, colorism, African American community, Hispanic community. Um, what does colorism mean to you, and have you ever experienced it?
Who's going to go first? Because I have a lot to say about this topic.
Go ahead.
Okay, so colorism is something that I've been experiencing since I can remember. People have always had questions about my ethnicity, and it always was cannot be Puerto Rican. Oh, I'm sorry, I cannot be fully Puerto Rican because of what people's perception of what Puerto Ricans are supposed to look like. So I always had to be, no, you're half Black. No, I've gotten half Italian. Depending on my hair, I can be, they would think I was Guyanese, or I've had gotten Middle Eastern, I've gotten Ethiopian. All depends on the season. If I'm darker, if it's the summer, if I look lighter, I've gotten everything but full Puerto Rican. And that's something that drives me insane. Okay. Because I understand that you may not fully understand the full spectrum of different cultures. And I'll give you a little one, nah, you can't be. Really? I'll give you a little one or two disbelief, but if I'm telling you this is what I am,
right,
then that's it. Why are you questioning my identity? That drives me crazy. And I've been battling that my entire life for as long as I can remember.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Well, the same goes on in the Black community. I have, honestly, I've seen colorism around me. And I don't know if I have fully experienced it where people are like, well, I guess if people ask you, are you fully Black? Because that's assuming that because you look a certain way or have a certain beauty type, they feel like you have to be mixed with something. So on that aspect. But because I was raised in a family where we have such, so much diversity, like one side is really, really fair skin and the other side is, more mixed with brown tones and all that kind of stuff. So I wasn't really raised to be judging people about skin tones and all that type of stuff, but I've definitely seen it in hand and, through family members and, just people around me. So I know that it's for real and it's there.
I'm gonna agree with Michelle. Like, I haven't been privy to experiencing colorism, maybe one or two incidents, but I can also relate to what Gigi said as far as people not believing that I am Puerto Rican. They're either telling me, "Oh, you Black," or you're Dominican," or something else, but they wouldn't say, "Oh, you don't even look Puerto Rican." So what do Puerto Rican people look like?
Exactly.
They look like everybody else.
Exactly.
They look like every other culture because we come from all colors of the rainbow. We have the light skin, we have the dark skin, we have the fair skin, we have the caramel tone. We have all different colors, or all different shades. We have all different skin colors. I know we were in preparing for this. We talked a little bit off screen last weekend, and I mentioned to you that I have two, one aunt and an uncle who are very, 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 very dark. Like, if we stood there, they would not think that that was my aunt. Like, if I stood along with them, they would not think that that was my aunt and my uncle because my skin tone is not even nearly close to theirs. And then on the other hand, my aunt, who's very dark, her daughter is fair skin, like very, very, very fair skin. So, and they don't even look alike. So, we come in all different skin tones. And for people to categorize us because of our skin tone, yeah, I can say I've experienced colorism in that aspect, but growing up, I can't recall.
I have.
Maybe as I got older, but growing up, no, I can't recall.
And one thing that it's kind of prominent, at least back in the day when I was growing up, something not from my parents because they really didn't care who I dated, but I definitely had family members who would say this saying, aclara la raza.
Oh,
That means
yes.
lighten up your race. Don't go dating the moreno down the block because you're not going to lighten up your race. And so obviously that word colorism wasn't a word that was used back then. But when you, in hindsight, when you think about it, this is colorism.
Right.
Why do I need to lighten up my race? Why do I need to go date someone who's light so that my kids can be light and then generations after that can be light? That is just so racist within your own group. And as Puerto Ricans, we do experience a lot of racism within our group. The lightest skinned Puerto Rican, there's no mixing. What? You're going to bring a moreno to the house? Mind you, he's Puerto Rican. They don't want that. They don't want to darken up their race.
Darker skin, the dark skin.
Exactly. And what people have to realize is that Puerto Rican, out of all the islands, is the one that has like a lot of like melting pot. Obviously, it was inhabited by the Carib Indians and the Taino Indians, right? They were the indigenous people of that island. And people don't know the history as to why we are the different shades that we are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then it was colonized by Spain. Spain went to spread the word, so now the Europeans are coming through because my maiden name is a French maiden name, which I'm not going to share, but it's French, right? And so when people look at my name, well, you're really not Spanish because your last name is not even Spanish. And then obviously Puerto Rico has a whole lot of the, we have sugarcane, that's money. So now the Spaniards and the Europeans bring over the Africans. And so we are such a melting pot of that. Clearly, if you're like my complexion, you have a little bit more of that African and that Indian in you. And if you are of the lightest skin Puerto Ricans, then obviously you have more of the European in your lineage. But it doesn't mean that because you're light, you don't have African and you don't have Indian. That's the misconception. If you look at yourself as Puerto Rican, no, you have a pinch, more than a pinch of African blood and more than a pinch of Carib Indian or Taino Indian blood. So that's something that I've always had to kind of school people on. Yo, you're not freaking European.
Right.
Hello, you have more of that lineage, but that's not you 100%. But people need to educate themselves.
I was going to say that it's so sad because it wasn't that long ago. Because of slavery, this is still embedded in our cellular memory.
It is.
It's in your, this is why people treat each other this way because they were taught to be that way. If you were lighter, you were in the house.
You were the house nigga.
You were looked at as better than, darker skinned people were in the fields and stuff. And so that brought division between light skin, dark skin, and it's still prevalent, today, which is so unfortunate.
But that's actually where it originated, from slavery.
Yeah.
Because they separated us. And that made the darker slaves hate the house slaves because they were privy to sleeping on the bed, the food, the warmth, the attention of the master. You know what I mean? While they were slaving in the sun. And it started that whole friction it created that division between a group of people. We're all the same, except you're a little lighter, I'm a little darker. We're all the same.
And we had, I guess it's kind of like the same term. I mean, where they want you to keep your race lighter. And we had this thing that was called the paper bag test. So you couldn't be darker than a paper bag to get into certain places. And if you were, you weren't admitted in. So it was just all kind of rules that were there just to destroy people's thought of themselves as far as their color was concerned. You know what I'm saying? It's just crazy. I wasn't raised like that. I don't understand. Like, I have a father that's very fair skinned. I have a mother that's brown skinned. So it's like, I didn't see that when, I saw it, but not in my home, I should say.
Yeah. Definitely not in my home. And my mother is very fair skinned with hazel eyes. you know. And then my dad is a little darker than I am.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just shows again that whole spectrum. My mother's side it's really a mixture. But my dad is more predominantly um, darker, but then the cousins are now lighter because of who you marry and just our blood, our DNA. You know, you're bound, if you have it in you, you're bound to create an offspring that's going to either have that recessive trait where you're either going, or dominant trait where you're going to either be darker or you're going to be lighter. You may have the green eyes because of the slave master from years and years and years ago. You know what I mean? So people have to really just understand that.
Yeah, I just wish we would lose some of those. And it's just so hard because it's still so embedded in the culture. But just some of those ignorant stereotypes like, oh, you have to be mixed with something because you have a certain texture of hair. Or
Mm-hmm.
you have to be mixed with something because your nose is this way. Do you know how many shades and textures of hair black and brown people come in? If I put my family up, we look like a Benetton ad. If I'm sure if y'all, you know what I'm saying? Like it is just so absurd to me. Like to have preference, like some people, like I know this is another place for contingency people have. Some people say they prefer to go, you know, like they prefer a lighter person or they prefer dating someone that's darker skinned. Like, I mean, I think though that you can have preferences with that concern, but when it is you don't like someone or you think someone is less than because their skin or you're better than because your skin is darker, I mean lighter, it's just so absurd. And we never going to get out of it because TV, movies, music, everything, it just portrays that.
I think it's okay for people to have preferences because
sure, I do too.
In my dating history, I prefer light-skinned men. I don't know why. It's just something, well, I'm attracted to. I know why. I'm attracted to light-skinned men opposed to a man who is of darker complexion. I don't see anything wrong with a man that's of darker complexion. It's just this is what I'm attracted to. When it gets difficult and when it gets demeaning is when you think that a person of a different shade or a color is less than who you are, or when you think that you know what your complexion is superior to that fair skin complexion, or you know what people with green eyes and blue eyes are better, are prettier. Women with blue eyes and green eyes are prettier than women who have brown and coffee color eyes. You know, a lot of people, that's a big deal. Like a woman that has color eyes, they're like, oh my gosh, she's only women that have color eyes are beautiful. And the women that have brown eyes and regular like coffee color eyes, they don't find anything special to us. You know, so I think that's when it gets a little tricky and a little bit difficult when people think that because they have straight hair they're better, or women that have nappy curly natural hair, you know, men don't like that, they're less than because hair is not straight and soft. But you know what, society has made it that way because look at how many African American women, and I'm going to target them just because it's huge, how many African American women choose not to wear their hair natural and they spend thousands of dollars on weaves because they want their hair straight. What's wrong with natural hair? This is what we make them think that we're less than because we're trying to be someone different. No, we have to learn to love who we are and love our own skin, because then we prove to these people that, you know what, yeah, me wearing my hair natural and curly is not beautiful. Only women who have, you know, straight and have those beautiful weaves down to their behind, that's beautiful. So I think we also play a part in making them think that, you know, different is not beautiful.
I think too, to go on with that, because I love to wear wigs and weaves and all that, so I can speak upon that. And I love to wear my natural hair. I think when you don't feel comfortable in your own skin, because as African women, we've been putting extensions and stuff in our hair. That's just innate in us. Since way back in the days, just we just loved it. Black women spend so much on hair just because they like to change up their hair. Like I like to look long hair one day.
I
You
think
know,
that's
so
beautiful.
you have when you have that aspect of it, then I understand. But you have literally have people that have a hatred for their hair.
Yes.
But then when another culture takes on your culture, as they always do, everybody's wearing braids. Yes. Everybody has braids. Everybody has full lips. Everybody is doing tanning their skin. Everybody is making their asses bigger. Everything that a Black woman and brown woman we've had for our entire lives, that they was looked upon, down upon. Now everybody is like, oh, that's beauty. We've been having this beauty since we was out of our mama's wombs.
Yes,
this is us naturally.
Acceptable right now. It's socially
right,
acceptable.
because once white folk take it on, now it's acceptable.
Now it's acceptable.
And I'm glad you said that. Once the white folk take it on, then it becomes acceptable.
Right.
But the moment that we do it, there's something wrong.
That's why we got to continuously big up each other and love on each other, because nobody else is going to do it for us. Like when you see your sister with natural hair, or you ain't got to just go around compliment everybody, but if you see something that looks good to you, shout them out, big them up. But when you see somebody that's outside of our culture doing something and they got braids and they got big butts, then you all Google Gaga over them. Because
it's an exotic look, but this is a look that we've had for freaking centuries and centuries.
Right. And it's not an exotic look on them because they're perpetrating our look. That's man-made on them. They have to go and get tan, go and get injections in their lips, go and put braids in their hair. We already have that.
Yeah. That's why it's very important that we've really build our daughters and even our sons, for that matter, to love the skin that they're in, because the way society has it now, where light skin, if you look at, now obviously everything is internet or whatever, but with even magazines, they shade down the artists so they look even lighter. They make them even slimmer. They do certain things to them so that they look a certain way. And our kids, this is what they're looking at. And so this is what they want to aspire to look at, because this is what society deems as beautiful. Right? And that's why I appreciate someone like Tyra Banks, who says, no, they washed my face out. They did this to my waist. This is what I really look like. And so she's quick to take off her makeup and show her little cellulite and stuff, so that, because she wants young girls to realize, okay, I dress up for my job, but that's dress up. That's not realistic. That's not what I really look like. This is what I really look like. And so our kids, the parents need to pour into them. But it's unfortunate that some parents who are also superficial. There's nothing wrong with dressing up and being cute and throwing on a weave, because we all want to look sexier, and what our definition of sexy might be for that moment. Today, a fro might be sexy to me. Tomorrow, I may want to get braids that's sexy. The next day, I might have a weave that's sexy.
Right.
There's some parents who perception of sexy is, I think it's a little warped. And so they start putting weaves on children when they're little. They don't even allow their kids to embrace their natural beauty. Because I've seen kids at a young age, 12, maybe 11, 12, they already have on weaves. They already are wearing lashes. They're already
with lashes?
Yes. And this is all because of self-hate. It's okay when you get older, little 16, 17, you want to start experimenting. The world is about beauty. And so it's in a world that's saturated. Girls like to be pretty. But at that young age, you have to learn how to embrace your beauty, so that I don't need this weave to say I'm beautiful. I don't need a lash to say that I'm beautiful. And so it's all about how the family, how the parents just let them embrace their natural beauty and their skin tones and their hair texture, Yeah,
and it's about the way we speak, like you said, the way we pour into our children, but the way we speak to them about who they are and about what they look like. And it's also about how we speak to ourselves. And we talk about this all the time, like how we speak about ourselves and how we speak to ourselves. They emulate what they hear. They emulate what they see. you know, and if we're going around saying, oh my God, I'm so fat. Oh my God, my hair's so nappy. I wish I had a perm. Like, they see that, they hear that. And what happens? They eventually, oh, I want a perm because mom says that a perm is what makes you beautiful. No, we need to embrace our natural hair. We need to embrace our body. Um, you know what? You want a flat stomach, lose weight. You don't have to get plastic surgery. You know, you want a big behind, do the squats, do the work. We got to teach our children about doing the work, doing the hard work, you know, not taking the easy way out, you know, just going to get your stomach done because that's what society deems is beautiful. You know, girls that have curves are not beautiful. No, we have to change that, and it's about the way we speak to about ourselves and with the way we speak to our girls and to our boys as well.
Yeah, that part of it is I mean, because it's so much more than just the beauty aspect of it. But that part of it is so sad. But that really needs to be, you know, because like I said, I just want to reiterate, like, it's nothing wrong with you wanting to wear when you get older. You want to wear, you know, you want to put it, because some people really don't know how to do their hair, and like when they put a perm in their hair, they can control it better.
I've put my hair since I was little.
Right. So
okay with that.
Yeah, but if you doing something because you're having some kind of inner self-hatred because you feel like your hair needs to be like that hair, then that side of it I really don't rock
That's
with.
what the problem is at. Yeah, not with
That's
the perm.
The problem.
If you want to perm your hair, that's your
one with the perm.
Yeah, that's your option.
Right.
That's an option. But at little, even if you're permanent, you still got to be able to embrace.
Do you think now, like I'm thinking about now, I see so many different body images and types. I see so many different shades and stuff being presented to us. Do you think the world is becoming a little bit more inclusive now with that kind of stuff?
Yes. Yes, because you're looking at some TV, well, some news stations, because some, unfortunately, with the media, well, depends. If you're in entertainment, curly, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? But if you're like in a conservative news station, you still see the girls that they still have to look a certain way. You know, that's something that I know Oprah had to deal with because of her natural hair when she was trying to break into the news media. But if it's entertainment news, oh, you're good to go. Because the world is becoming a little bit more embracive.
Right. A little bit, right?
A little bit. It's still not really prominent in those major sectors, because still, we're even looking at TV shows, you don't really see a lot of girls with the natural hair unless it's predominant. You know, you see a lot of, I don't want to say whitewash, but for me, it's kind of like whitewashed a little bit, where, I don't know, you don't really see a depiction of the culture in an accurate form. You only see a pinch of it. Because, yeah, you do see that what they are emulating on TV, that's part of the culture. But you don't see the entire spectrum of the culture on a lot of shows.
You know what makes me upset too, now that you pointed out about shows? So what's this show? I don't want to say the name because it has curse words in it. It's called Black Ass. What Black?
Oh, Black Ass.
Yeah, right. It's on Netflix. And so one thing that we have to do too within our culture is stop being so ignorant about how we look as people. Like how everybody's family looks different. Like this man, that was a depiction of his real life family. His real life family looks like that. The children, some are fair skinned, some are caramel, some they have really curly hair. The wife is very fair skinned. And people are giving them grief in the Black community, asking them why he didn't put darker people in it, why he didn't put people with, because that's not what his family looks like. This is what this man, and that's how we are. We have different families that our family looks like that. How are you going to tell this man to put a depiction of his family up that looks different than what his family looks like that he's trying to portray? So we have to get that out of our mind, that we just this one-sided, because we so faceted as a people in so many shades and hair textures and
Exactly.
that really gets on my nerves when people say, "Oh, you fully Black." Like that was a compliment.
That drives me crazy. Let me tell you, I'm going to be very transparent with you guys because, I mean, that's not something I would do now, but in my earlier years, I used to get it so much. You can't be fully Black because,
You mean you can't be fully Spanish?
well, I can't be fully Spanish and I couldn't be fully Black. So people
Oh, okay.
asking me, you can't be fully Black because look at your nose and look at your lips. And you can't be fully Spanish because look at your hair, look at your skin color. Why can't I be fully of anything? But to the point that I was so tired of having to like respond to people's ignorance that I kind of like assimilated. Like I was like, okay, if you think this is what I am, this is what I am.
Right.
And I have to go through that whole conversation of explaining. Yes.
So let me ask you a question. Do you think, see, because I hear what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, I hung out with all different races because I grew up in the project. So, I mean, we had every kind of race.
That's what I was going to say next. Go ahead.
So we had all different kind of races. But my question to you is this. I hung out with predominantly Hispanic people.
Mm-hmm.
But I did hang out with African American girls. I hung out with Asian girls. Like I went to school with a diverse group of people, of races, But when I hung out with my friends, all of my girlfriends were Spanish. They were Puerto Rican. So do you think that you got that question of you can't be all Puerto Rican because you hung out with different races or you hung out with like just Black people or you hung out with just Puerto Rican people? So they was like, no, you can't be this, because I didn't get that from the people that I hung out with. So I'm just trying to understand, like, where did you get that from?
Just from people I would encounter, friends, when I got older, the workplace where I would work at, people who didn't know me, they would normally have a question about my ethnic race. I don't understand why, but that's always been a question to this day. That's been a question for me. And I really do believe that this is the reason why I gravitated more to like African American people, because I don't feel that I fit into the Puerto Rican crew.
Wow.
Yeah. And so aside from my clique, you and a couple of people that we grew up with that were Hispanic, all of my friends are of African American descent.
And that's why I asked you that question, because I know that. This is why I asked you that question.
All of my friends. I think I naturally just gravitated because I was more accepted.
I think you gravitated. I mean, I can't speak for you, but you probably gravitated too, because that's just like somebody that's biracial. If they have Black or half white, and the white people are constantly calling them, "Oh, you're not white enough," but the Black people are not as mean as the white people, so they gravitate more to that. Like the Hispanic people were probably questioning your ethnicity more than the Black people were. So you just said, "You know what? I'm gonna rock over here."
To this day, I can't be Puerto Rican. I have to be. No, you're not Puerto Rican. You got to.
So Jackie, let me ask you a question. Because you said that you had that experience a couple of times where people thought you may have been mixed. What was that about when they thought that?
I don't know. They just said that like they, like what they said to Gigi, like I couldn't look, that I don't look Puerto Rican.
That's what I'm saying. See,
different. And then I would ask them, like, what do Puerto Rican people look like? We look like everyone else. We have dark shades, we have caramel tones, we have light skin tones. You guys both know my daughter. Well, that's Gigi's goddaughter. My daughter is, I don't even want to say fair skin. She's white skin.
She's white.
My daughter's a white girl, and she has blue eyes.
She's Hispanic.
Yes, and she has blue eyes. And she has the straight, soft hair. So when people look at her and I, when we're walking down the street, they definitely would not say, that's your daughter or you're her mom. And when she says, oh, this is my mom, people do like a double take, like, that's your mom? And I always say, like, why can't I be her mom? You don't know what her dad looks like. You don't know what kind of family line I have. You don't know if my mother was white. Like, you don't know, my mother was white skinned, and that's why my daughter came out to be very fair skinned. I told you guys last week about my encounter when I was taking my daughter out for a stroll, and I went into the Gap, and with the stroller, and I'm looking at the clothes and the baby. I pull the baby's blanket back so she could get some air, and this Caucasian lady comes up to me and she's like, "Oh my goodness, what family do you nanny for?" Why? Because I'm dark skinned and the baby is very white skinned. I have to be a nanny. I can't be her mom. So in that aspect, like, I've dealt with those stupid, ignorant comments. But I really can't say that I've dealt with colorism like the way Gigi has, because I've hung out with, like I said, I've hung out with my Hispanic people, and not that I don't hang out with African American people or Caucasian people, because I love all cultures and I can connect with every culture.
Me too.
But the Hispanic people, like, are my, my go-to people.
Yeah, because that's who you are. That's just like people gravitate towards the people that they're familiar with and that they look alike. So that's why, I feel like you probably gravitated more over there.
I have another question for Gigi, because now you got me thinking. You open my mind. So, do you embrace your Puerto Rican culture 100%?
Oh, 1,000%, honey. 1,000% through and through and through.
Because I know, and I know I'm not speaking for you or about you, but I'm just speaking in general. I know people who are Hispanic and they connect more with the African American race, so then they tend to, and I hate saying this, their behavior changes.
Trying to assimilate towards a different culture.
Yes. And so that's why I ask you, do you embrace your culture 100%? Or
I embrace my culture. I don't deny who I am. I mean, at that one point, it was just more out of frustration. Listen, if you think this is what I am, okay, that's what I am. Because I was just tired of just giving the whole damn spiel every single time that I was questioned. But I do believe, because I was accepted more by the African American culture, this is the reason why I gravitated more, and why my relationship have been with African Americans. My husband was African American, and I've dated all shades of African American, and Hispanic guys never liked me.
I was gonna ask you, have you ever dated a Hispanic man?
No, I mean, I probably had like a little something in between, nothing sexual, but but that was it. One individual out of all of my years.
Mimi, have you dated outside your race?
Once, and it wasn't really nothing. Once, but no, not really.
Yeah, it's just.
You mind sharing what race?
Hispanic.
He was Dominican.
Dominican, okay.
Yeah, Hispanic men, they've never been like, "Hey, you, da da da." I mean, now I'm older, it's a little different. The "Hey, mommy," whatever. They've never gravitated to me ever.
And I feel the same about African American men. No, like, I don't think they like me.
I'm like a magnet.
No, I don't think they like me. I don't know what it is. It's just every man that I've dated has been Puerto Rican.
Wow.
Probably one or two Dominican, but all Hispanic.
Right.
And I don't know if we just I get along better with Hispanic people. I speak Spanish all the time. I don't know. I listen to Spanish music. That's my thing. So I don't know if that's what
it could just be the energy that you're giving off too, in the vibe. People can tell when you're approachable, just by your body language, by the way you talk. So it could be that black men, and this is just my
I know.
They could be saying, "Oh, they could tell that they can't approach you." You know what I'm saying? Because that's really not what you're into. Not that you have anything against them, but that's not what you're attracted to.
Yeah,
so
no.
They can tell. But I'm telling you, I honestly, I get all kind of men hitting on me now.
I mean, now it's different. So do I.
Yeah.
But it's still predominantly African American.
Yeah. But sometimes when you have a certain walk, or you have a certain body type too, like African American men go after that a lot. So it could, it's so many factors, and it's just that you feel comfortable around too. I think the energy that you give off sometimes attracts the person who you're
I
going to
don't
be.
think I would mind dating a black man. I don't think I would mind. I mean, I don't think I would mind dating any race. Let me say that.
I'm open to any race too.
I'm not.
I think I could date any race, as long as he's respectful, as long as I'm attracted, as long as we have things in common. Then I don't think that, you know.
I need swag. If you got
Yes,
the swag,
as long as he has the swag too. We've talked about.
we might be all right.
I don't know. I mean, I have nothing against, like, I think if you love is love, and when you love somebody, you can't control it sometimes.
Yes.
But I don't think that I would be able to date a Caucasian man because I wouldn't be open to it. Like, really, like they would be, they probably would feel it. Like when they come towards me, they probably feel like a force field, like, like, because I've had I've worked in finance, like I've worked in corporate America. I've had plenty of white men trying to hit on me, but I don't know. I just felt like, and this is my own thing, like uncomfortable. Like, what is the dialogue going to be? What is the common ground that we have with each other? You know,
may find that you have some common ground. You got to give someone the opportunity. Let me tell you something. There's some white guys out there who have swag.
No, there is, but I'm talking about as far as culture. You having swag is something that I feel is a little innate. It's just something that's in you. Yeah. But I'm talking about as far as knowing my culture, that, you know, this is why we like certain things, that when we talk like this and we start getting passionate about stuff, that's not aggression. It's just some, you know, just to get it. I don't think they would.
You could teach them that. And when love is love.
That's right.
You could teach somebody that.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I would give an opportunity to any culture, because I'm not closed off to just like one particular culture. It's my preference. Hispanic man, I have nothing against any other race. That's my preference. But if I would find some type of connection or common ground with a man of another race, absolutely, why not? Mm-hmm. I'm not closed off to it.
Right.
I'm just looking for love and happiness.
Looking for love.
Happiness. Of course, I'm always doing a little bit of research, right? And so in my research, I found this quite interesting, that colorism is also in the census that we fill out.
Yes, it is.
Right? And when the census, of course, I'm focusing on Puerto Rico. When the census is done in Puerto Rico, you have 3/4 of the island check off the box of white, because that's what they identify with. When that island is the island that has the most diversity because of the Indian, the indigenous people, and the African, but 3/4. And most of them identify because in their heads, Puerto Rico is white.
Yes.
And because if the box is black, they don't identify with that. They identify with morena, trigueña, negra. Those are words that they identify. So if the census were use words that they identify with, then it wouldn't be the 3/4. So right now, as of 2021, they were really trying to fix that racial disparity with getting the census correct in Puerto Rico, because it's really, that island is really rooted in African and indigenous people.
Hello. When those slave ships came, they stopped there. They stopped at, you know, that's for sure.
And they actually have the island of Puerto Rico, Luis Ardea. I know you know Luis Ardea. That is the one of the many towns that's heavily rooted in the African culture.
It is. Yes,
and I found out, well, my family, I have family that's from there. On my dad's side. No, my grandmother's side. My dad's side. Where I learned that this is where the slaves, when they were hiding, they would hide in Luis Ardea. Wow. So this is why it's very heavily influenced. If you go there now, you have all the African traditions, from the dressing, from the dancing, from the music to the food.
If you go to Guayama,
and Guayama is the other one.
Is the darkest. My uncle, the one that I was telling you, he's from my mother's from Guayama. And he is so dark, and everyone from that place is very, very dark.
That's Louis.
They call it the town of the witches.
Really?
Louisiana.
Yes, the town of the
Because of
witches.
the African rituals and the
Yes.
tradition and the folklore and that the African spiritual.
The music, the congas, the just praying to their your ancestors and things like that. And that's why they call it the town of the witches.
You know who's from there? From our favorite soap opera, La Esclava Blanca.
Oh Lord.
Modesto la sé. You know, I love that.
Is that the one? Is that the one who I said, oh, he's so handsome? Okay, yeah, okay.
That's Yaku's husband too. He's from that town.
Okay.
He's from that town.
Yeah.
Hey.
Wow, that's good that you pointed that out. If they had a language on the census that they understood, like, because there's so much prejudice and there's so much unconscious prejudice too, that when they see Black, they don't want to identify with that. Exactly. So if they saw the different way you guys say a Black, they would, yeah.
And actually now we have Afro-Latina, Latinx. We have a lot of different people now that are being kind of socially aware.
Absolutely.
So now we have different movements taking place within the Hispanic culture. And
I definitely can identify as Afro-Latina.
I identify as Afro-Latina as well. But you have Latina, you have Hispanics. The difference between Latina and the difference between Hispanics. There's so much deep-rooted stuff in Puerto Rico that if people just educated themselves, we'll see that you can check all boxes.
I think not just Puerto Rico. Yes, they need to educate themselves, but I think colorism is a lack of education, is a lack of knowledge, is a lack of just being present in what's going on in your world today. And I think if people just took the opportunity just to gain some information, gain some knowledge, I think they would think in a different way.
They sure.
Yeah, I really think that now is the time. Like, I really see it so much more now. Like, you see so many girls with their beautiful afros and curls and so many different body shapes and sizes. I saw a commercial the other day with all full-figure girls in a high-end designer wear commercial. You would never have seen that just 5 years ago. You see it so much now that I really think, because people are having the conversations like how we're having right now, that because people were afraid to have these conversations because people were so into their feelings, they would take it, they couldn't even have the dialogue because there'll be an argument, or, you couldn't even get through the conversation. But now I think it's becoming better now.
I think it's very important. And because we have not just our platform, but there's so many platforms.
Oh yeah,
you
sure.
can educate.
And a lot of TV shows.
You can educate.
Absolutely. So
a lot of these TV shows nowadays are talking and targeting on the topic of colorism. Their theme for that episode is catered to colorism and shedding light, on specific scenarios that people go through when they encounter colorism. And just, that's amazing how they just bring in knowledge to on television, because not everybody is inclined to let me go get a book and sit down and read and research colorism, but they're more inclined to watch a television show. And you know what, at the same time, they're being entertained, but they're learning something, something of value.
Exactly.
I mean, we as a people, we're so beautiful. Look at us right here, the three of us. We all three different shades right here. You know what I mean? Like, this is who we are as a people. All different spectrums, all different body types, all different hair textures.
And it's going to be like that forever.
It's going to be like that even more now because cultures are mixing so much more now.
Exactly.
So you're never going to just say, people going to be just looking one way. You can't say, oh, you're Black because you have full lips or you have a broader nose. No, you can't.
You can't. You have to just, if you're curious, it's okay to ask.
It really is okay to ask.
Yeah, because it's so funny. Not until doing this episode, when I'm kind of reflecting, I'm like, wow, I kind of do this little colorism thing myself too. Like, I've caught myself thinking, oh, you can't be fully, the same thing. You can't be fully African-American. Like, I know you got a pinch of white in your family. And I'm not realizing that is also stereotypical in colorism. So,
but it's obvious though too. Like, I mean, if you see some families that they're really like, I mean, of course my family went back in slavery clearly was you know, because it's a lot of fair-skinned people in my family. But I mean, that's the obvious. But I think where it comes with, you know, people have to open their minds more is for you to think that because somebody looks a certain way or they're prettier than you think this culture should look, that you say, oh, you have to be mixed with. Like, I don't like when anybody gives me a compliment like that. Oh, you full? Like when you do that face right there. You
Yeah.
black?
Yeah.
Like, yes, I'm black.
You pretty for being dark skinned.
Right. What kind of sideways compliment is that?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good for being dark skinned. So if I was the same face but lighter, I'll be the bomb diggity. But
Exactly.
That's crazy.
And that's where the problem lies.
Right. Exactly
where the problem lies.
And we just need to keep having more discussions like this, and I think we'll come out better on the other side. But I honestly feel like it's always going to be there, just because
it definitely is. Look at where we are in the 21st century, and think about when slavery began. Mm-hmm. And although we've made leaps and bounds as far as slavery is concerned, we're still there. Sure. There's still some type of separation.
But 2020 showed us that for sure.
Yeah. So, so you saying that we're gonna continue to see it? Yes, I can believe that. Mm-hmm. I would hope that one day we would not be here. We would not see it. That, you know, everyone would be okay with every culture, and every culture will be acceptable, and every culture would not be questioned. Mm-hmm. But to say that this is going to be gone, I don't think so. Because look at where slavery was. How many years ago slavery began? Think about when it was abolished, when Abraham Lincoln was alive. Think about everything that Dr. Martin Luther King did, Malcolm X, all of these powerhouse people, and everything that they did to end segregation and end slavery and to end colorism. And we're now in the 21st century still experiencing some of the same things that Dr. Martin Luther King fought so hard to get rid of. All of everything that, you know, Rosa Parks did. People still experiencing that negativity and that, you know, I don't know. It makes me angry that these people have fought so hard for us and for our freedoms, and people of today are being so ignorant and still behaving the same way, you know. And not to take it to such a negative place, but look at the attack on the in Washington. Like, look at all that negativity and all that, you know, the white people superior, you know. It just makes me sad. It makes
that's why I'm glad you brought that up. No, because that's where I think a huge chunk of the problem lies, in legislation, in people, you know, laws being passed in the workplace, with people that own businesses and run companies, where they start making changes in the company. Like when you have all these designers that are doing still so many ignorant things as far as fashion is concerned. There's no way in the world you can tell me in 2020, 2021, you don't realize that writing somebody with a white face and huge red lips. There's no way you could tell me saying that this person is the coolest monkey on the playground, that's offensive in 2020. You can't tell me that you don't know that. But what needs to happen is they need to if you have people that look like us sitting at the table making decisions, I can hold this white person or this person who's ignorant accountable and say, listen, that's offensive to me. So I know it will be offensive to this group of people because I can speak for this group of people because I am them. So they need to get more people at the table that makes laws, that makes decisions for companies that look like us. And then you won't have this as much.
You mentioned something, and it was probably going off topic, but it just makes me angry because sometimes, like Gigi said, that she also sometimes questions, like, you know, can he be black? Or, you know, and sometimes it also stems from us. So you mentioned the white face with the red lips and the monkey and all of that, but we continue to support these companies who are doing that, because how many African Americans do I see still? I mean, I know the brand that you're talking about that did that. I don't want to mention any names, but I still see African American people supporting that brand and wearing it and just showing it, displaying it. How can you act offended about something and then go ahead and spend $3,000 on a belt portraying, displaying the symbol of this company? So we are also to blame for that. Because we want to keep up with the Joneses. We want to be styling. We want to be with the fad. So, but at the end of the day, we're turning our back to our own people because these companies are making fun of us. They're calling us monkeys. They're doing all these things that are offensive to us. But then here we go, taking our rent money to go spend $500 on a pair of sneakers because they have that brand on them or that belt. And we tuck our shirt in because we want everybody to see the brand that we have on our belt. So I mean, we're at fault.
That's another part. I'm sorry, I'm going to stop after that. That's another part of that cellular memory of that. When you have things bring status. Things makes people look at you better than, like, if you had a certain house or if you had a certain this or that. So that was embedded in Black people, that they always had to strive to get this because it made you were somebody in the community. That's why in the Black church, that was so, because you were able to get positions in the Black church. That's why people are so, gung-ho about getting positions in the Black church, because that's the only place where you were able to, as a Black man, say, oh, I'm the head of something, I'm the leader of this. So that is still in there. So it takes a lot of work internally, deep rooted, to get all of that out of there. It's really embedded.
It is.
Yeah, so we really have to work, and people have to acknowledge it. But I really think it can be done. But you really have to really take self-reflection and dig deep.
Yeah, because we all have it. We all do it. And it's just, we don't think that it's negative.
Yeah.
That's like you said, it's embedded. It's how it's the society we grew up in. It's kind of normal to ask a question or whatever, So yeah, it takes a lot of reflection. You're right. I have written this poem, guys, and I probably wrote this like in my 20s. And when J-Lo became like popping and stuff, I kind of added her name to it, but I'm not going to put her name. So I just want to read this poem to you really quickly. And it's so crazy because it's exactly about colorism before I even heard of the word colorism. I've heard that in recent years.
That was Alice Walker actually popularized that. I'm not certain what book it was in.
Oh, okay. So it's called Yo Soy, I Am, We Are. Are you Puerto Rican? Am I Puerto Rican? Do I have to have long, black, silky hair, be fair skinned to be Puerto Rican? Can't I have nappy, peasy, kinky hair, be chocolate brown, trigueña, morena, and be Puerto Rican? My ancestors didn't sweat blood and tears in a Borinquen for me to deny who I am, Boricua, Africana, and Taino Indian. You better open up your eyes and recognize my Boricua Nubian sister, that you too are African with your long, black, silky hair and fair skin, and I am negra, bella, and Puerto Rican.
Hey, I like that. All right.
So I was like in my 20s.
Okay, that was perfect ending.
I love that.
Right, for this episode. I love that poem.
Now I should have had because I'm Puerto Rican.
Because when we should have been like this. That was awesome.
That was beautiful.
Yeah. So on that note,
we're ending on the nappy peasy Puerto Ricans and a Black Girl.
Yay!
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Sending you love and light. Mwah, from the Love Guru.
Bye.